and welcome to a special E3 edition of Brooklyn Bytes. So, what makes this one so special?
I mean, of course, E3 is the Electronic Entertainment Expo. It happens every year, and it's where all the big game companies, big and small, they show everything they've got to talk about. But this year is huge and exciting because, Microsoft and Sony had a new console to show. We've seen them unveiled already, but this is the big splash. This is where they get to really talk about what games are coming out and what's going to set them apart from each other. But there was also another event this week, right? Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference kicked off too.
Yeah, I don't get why they kind of they could have picked it any time to do that. Why during E3? You know how hard it is to have picture-in-a-picture?
It is
trying
tough.
to watch both conferences live.
They want you to watch it on your iPad, obviously. It's nothing new for Apple, right? I mean, they often do. They present at Macworld, during CES. So this is just them being in their own bubble, setting their own pace.
True. Mm-hmm.
But they showed off so much stuff, and what do you think stood out for the most for you? I mean,
for Apple?
Yeah.
Well, I would say probably the Mac Pro. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah.
The
design of it, right?
Yeah, the design of it, I think, is a huge achievement. How many
pretty remarkable
cylinder computers do you see on the market?
Yeah, I mean, people compare it to like a coffee maker.
Yeah, or a trash bin. There's a lot. They're making ashtray.
Yeah,
there's a lot of goofy.
But let's not forget the old G5 design. Mm-hmm. I mean, people were calling that a cheese grater anyway.
They were in the beginning, yes.
So, Apple products will always be compared to some other household item.
Just give it some time, and then you'll see someone copying that design. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty radical design. I mean, I guess there were some criticisms of it, right? Because, people were talking about it because it's so small, there's not a lot of expansion space. You probably won't be able to swap the graphics out too easily or add more hard drives or anything like that.
Yeah, okay. So the idea of this new Mac Pro is that it's going to be a modular system that you can, rather than tinkering inside of it, which I think you still can pretty easily. It's like twists off on the top.
Yeah, right.
But now you can just buy the add-ons. You can buy extra video cards, external hard drives, and you just modular plug it into the Thunderbolt cables.
Yeah, but now it's no longer just this little box. Now you have the box with all this other stuff hanging off of it.
That's true.
You're gonna have your discs somewhere else.
That's true, but they're looking into the future on this. So this is like a 10-year kind of investment. So they're saying, I guess their idea is, even if this kind of is not that relevant today, 5 years from now, this might be where the industry might be going. Yeah, they're taking a chance, but.
I mean, some of the other things they did show that I thought was kind of cool was this tagging that they introduced in OS X. They have on the Finder now you can tag files with different tags of your own design, I guess. That and the tabs in Finder makes things a little less cluttered. Yeah,
the Finder tabs, people seem to react to that pretty well. I never found myself. I'm a Mac user for over a decade now, but I never felt myself needing tabs. Sometimes it's one of those things that you don't know you need it until you start using it.
Right. Well, I guess people are comfortable with it in a browser. You have a lot of stuff open. Might as well extend it to the desktop too.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know. For one thing, the name of the new OS X, Mavericks?
Mavericks, yeah.
I'm not crazy about that.
Well, yeah, see, I didn't get that because I knew that they were going to go for a name change when they went into the new, all right, so OS X 10.
They made a joke about running out of cats to name their operating system.
So right now we're on 10.8. So 10.9 for me would have been the last cat name. But it's rather than that being the case, they're resetting now and they're going with new names.
Will internet cat memes stop as a result?
I think they're going to get worse. I think. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a little to getting used to, I guess. Mavericks, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a place in California near where they work. Maybe where they live.
Yeah,
so maybe it's a California thing. It's like more.
We're in Brooklyn, so if it was like Johnny's Pizzeria, that would probably be It's more acceptable to
not
me.
the best name
I can
for
relate.
an operating system, though.
No? Pizzeria?
No. It is circular. If it comes on a CD-ROM.
I know, it would look like a pizza pie.
Yeah.
The disc.
The other thing that kind of caught me off guard was the comment about, how when I think Phil Schiller was presenting, he said, can't innovate my ass when they showed off the Mac Pro. I thought that was a bit edgy for an Apple presentation. Came off a little...
this...
Usually they don't break their cool like that.
Exactly. This is kind of the post-Steve Jobs era.
Right.
And you're starting to see a little bit different personalities come out.
Mm-hmm.
They would, back in the day, they would never address, like, the audience.
Or criticisms from the outside.
Definitely.
In that way, you know what I mean? Like, they would take it as an opportunity to sort of say, here's what we do better, and they did do that, too. They did take plenty of shots at the competition.
They did.
During the presentation.
But on the other hand, Apple has been getting a lot of flack lately. From the media, press... online, everywhere.
Sure. I mean, especially considering all the stuff that they did show that was very similar to what you get elsewhere, or that you could have already gotten already. The iTunes Radio, it's basically Pandora. It's their version of it, right? Their iWorks for iCloud, it's pretty much Google Docs, but their own version of it.
This is like the first time in a while they really didn't have... They had a lot to show, but it wasn't anything super innovative. It was kind of like, okay, we took all these ideas that other companies are doing,
right,
and we're gonna incorporate it and make it a little better, or hopefully make it better,
or just put their own spin on it.
Yeah.
I was hoping that the MacBook Air would get a Retina screen like the MacBook Pros, but I guess it's all about being light and being better on battery life. They did stress that a lot too.
Yes. Yeah, there has to be some technical reason.
Yeah, or just a reason to have two different lines. They want to want to separate the two product offerings a little better. But I see that maybe eventually coming down into that line too.
Probably.
Yeah, I would hope.
Yeah.
So what surprised you about the presentation? Was there anything that caught you off guard?
The biggest surprise, which wasn't even mentioned, was Apple supporting Blue controllers now.
Right. The made for iOS controllers, right? Right
now, there's like 5 or 6 different formats if you want to use controllers. So if you're a game maker, you have to incorporate all these different functions,
right,
to use all these different peripherals.
So finally, this is something we've been hoping for, right?
This is this is like really big news. I think
for a lot of people, sure.
I mean, gaming is, you can say people can say what they want, but mobile gaming is here to stay, and it's really big and it's growing substantially, whereas other parts of the industry are not.
Stagnating or struggling to grow. Yeah.
So now you suddenly can turn your iPad or iDevice, whatever it might be, with an Apple TV into a new console for your TV.
That's
assuming that you like to play those types of games.
One way to do it. But yeah, Apple stepping forward and saying, here's a standard that everybody can write to.
Standard.
That's what we've been asking for quite some time. And then I guess that's all part of iOS 7. That's going to be something going forward. So that was a big thing that everybody was hoping to see at this presentation too. It's just going to be the new skin on for iPhones and iPads. Yeah,
first time they're releasing or they're showing both operating systems, iOS and OS X.
It's a big change. Do you like the new look? What do you think of it?
I do. I like it a lot.
Kind of minimalist in some sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's going for that new, not new, I'd say more trendy flat design, which I don't have a big problem with. I like the colors. I think the color palette's very nice, a little bold, very different from what they're used to. And I like that they got away from that skeuomorphism, or whatever that's called.
That fake look.
Yeah, like
fake wood,
the leather binding, and they made a couple of jokes about it too. But I never really cared for that look.
Right.
So I like the new modern... in a way, it's kind of copying, Windows Phone and that kind of look.
The Metro UI. And in some sense, you could definitely see some influence there. If it was a direct influence or not, maybe it's just a way that makes sense for things to go. To maybe just streamline things a bit. But yeah, I mean, I think those were the kind of the big hits coming out of Apple. So maybe we should turn our attention to E3.
Yeah, enough in the Apple news.
All right, so I guess the events kicked off with Microsoft's presentation, their keynote.
Yes, we've all been waiting for it. We want answers, damn it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure people have been keeping up with the news and what's coming out. But the things that sort of struck me as good, positive things, is there's been a lot of flack going Microsoft's way for the decisions there, or at least the discussions that they've made regarding, how games are going to be installed and used games and trading games and all this other stuff. But one thing I noticed that's, at least the positive thing to come out of it is that Xbox Live now is getting a little more PlayStation Plus-like by offering some free games with membership. And they said they're going to be offering 2 games per month if you maintain your Xbox Gold membership. So I think that's a plus. That's, not to make a joke at their expense, but definitely that's,
they don't have to do that. They haven't been doing it. Why would they do it now? But
right.
I think that's probably to feed some of the loyalists who have been buying the gold accounts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. And they said that even if you disconnect your membership, you get to keep those games.
You do, yes.
Which is a little different from what Sony does.
Yeah, so that was kind of their jab to Sony, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just one way of them saying, here's one way we're better. Mm-hmm. But they showed off a lot of games.
They did. They promised exclusives, and they promised lots of games.
Yeah, so were there any in particular that stood out to you? I mean, I could think of a few examples. Mm-hmm.
Metal Gear Solid 5, though, did stand out.
Yeah.
As kind of one of those blockbuster titles. But that's coming on, I believe, all the systems. I don't think it's an exclusive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. It is
multi-platform. I mean, that looked next gen when I saw that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked pretty good.
How about you? Was there...
Yeah, I think Sunset Overdrive was kind of impressive. That's Insomniac's game.
Mm-hmm. Is that an exclusive Xbox?
I believe it is.
Yeah.
I think it's got a little. It seems to have a little Jet Set Radio feel to it.
Yes.
And that's kind of the first thing that jumped out at me.
That stood out for me. That's true.
What else? I think Quantum Break, the one that we saw hinted at their conference last month. I was really impressed with the facial animation in that game. I think during the little bit of gameplay that they showed, it was like one step closer to looking more like an actor being in there. There was another game called D4.
Yes, that looked really good.
We saw like a little bit of some kind of something going on a plane, and it looked really stylized. It had a very distinct art style to it. It looked like part cel shaded, part hand drawn, with some ultra realism mixed in. It had a really cool blend. Now, another thing that they did show off though was Upload Studio, and that was their way of sharing your gameplay with people online. So that's like something that Sony made a big deal about during their initial presentation, that you can share.
Video editing and sharing.
Yeah, so it looks like they're right there with their own version of that.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool. I mean, I think they showed Killer Instinct, and they edited a tight spot where they wanted to show off a killer move, and looked pretty cool if it works.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see Killer Instinct actually.
Yeah, I know, right?
And to me, one of the surprising things about that was the fact that Microsoft has owned Rare for so long, almost 10 years now, if not more, and it took them this long to get Killer Instinct back out there. But
yeah, I'm never a big fan myself, but I know people have been wanting that game really bad for a long time.
That's going to be a free download too.
What?
So, yeah.
Why would they give that away for free?
I'm sure they have some way of monetizing it.
Yeah, that's the...
But Crimson Dragon looked kind of cool. Looked kind of like a Panzer Dragoon sort of style game.
Yeah, it did. At first I thought it was.
Yeah, right. And there's actually some lineage there. Like, some of the team has worked on Panzer Dragoon.
Oh, is that what it is? Because I was trying to find the association with Sega somehow.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely had a strong software lineup. No complaints there. Let's talk about some of the things that weren't so great about their demo, right? For one thing, they revealed the price. Now, $499. What do you think about $499 for this console? The 360 came out at $399.
Well, I personally think that is a fair price for a brand new console.
Not unexpected.
Not unexpected. That's not that much more than what we're used to.
Well, the difference is that it comes with Kinect.
Comes with Kinect, right?
Where it didn't before. If you pre-order it, you get the day one exclusive console.
Right. Okay, that's it.
Right. You get a special achievement for doing that. And you also get a custom controller that says, like Xbox One,
which
like
is
launch bundle.
I believe sold out within 24 hours
already
on Amazon. Yeah. Other things I didn't like with Microsoft's was they didn't really go address any of the issues that's been plaguing them since the last conference.
Well, they didn't come right out and talk about it, right? But
it's just still being leaked out through certain outlets, and it's spreading rumors and whatever it is, and it's just lots of bad press.
And also they're introducing mandatory hard drive installs. So basically the games are all going to run off of the internal hard drive. Now, this is something that people really didn't like about the PS3.
Yeah.
Every time I bought a game for the PS3, I have to sit through a 20-minute install. That's all I heard from people, And so now this is going to become standard for Xbox as well, I guess.
I guess it's to get people ready for the next digital revolution where all games will be downloads only.
Right. And, Microsoft's answer has been, like, these are all theoretical situations that aren't going to be as bad as you think they are and all this stuff. And
yeah, I mean, you got to understand these two consoles are going to be around for another 7 years. So a lot of this stuff might seem weird or we're not used to it, but in 7 years, these are kind of the trends the industries are moving in.
Yeah, sure. I mean, maybe they figure people are just used to it by now. People have been using iTunes long enough or any of the other digital distribution services.
Steam.
And you can't trade games there, so, maybe they just figured people are ready to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of money at stake in this thing, and if there's really like a big protest and people are not buying, they're losing money, they're going to change. They're not going to just sit there and say, well, we're going to stick to our guns and...
Right.
They'll probably adapt. I'm sure they're not gonna. This is it. I mean, they invest billions into this stuff.
Yeah, sure. It's definitely a major investment, and anything that doesn't go as planned can always be, modified on the fly down the road. They can, through an update or something like that.
Sure.
Now, was there anything that you were hoping to hear from them that you didn't catch, or there was no sign of? Personally, for me, backwards compatibility on at least Xbox Live arcade titles, I would have hoped would have carried forward. I mean, obviously they don't work for the same reason that Xbox 360 games don't work, because they're coded for the 360.
Yeah. And
there's no direct support for that there. But I think a lot of people are really comfortable with just bringing up their Xbox dashboard and having, a dozen arcade titles ready to play anytime they want, and now it's going to be taken away. You're starting from scratch with this system. So that's a bit of a downer.
That's kind of I mean, I like, for me, I chose Xbox over PlayStation 3 in the beginning, so I invested a lot of my downloads and everything into that. So now, even if I do get a new Xbox, I can't transfer my downloads over, which is kind of crappy, because I don't want to keep,
Now, if these are retro titles, maybe there'll be just new versions of those, and maybe they will have some way where you can sort of unlock them.
Time will tell.
We'll see. Now, the other thing something that did surprise me out of this whole thing was the new slimmed down again Xbox 360.
Yes, me too.
They introduced like a new design for it. Just when we were used to the last Slim, they slimmed it again to make it look more like the Xbox One.
My only guess with that is they're going to plan a price drop soon.
Could be. So
I don't think there's a problem selling the Xboxes right now, but I think near the holidays, they're going to, like, for the people who can't, because their excuses, well, if you ask them, well, what are you going to do if you can't go online? Not everyone has a good internet connection or any internet connection.
Yeah.
And, their answer is, well, that's why we have Xbox 360.
Right.
There you go.
That's a little snarky, but
yeah, it is.
All right.
But so I think the reasoning is they're going to drop the price big time on that.
Right.
And, offer that Xbox.
So, yeah, it's probably a cost-reduced model. They probably redesigned it yet again to make manufacturing cheaper for them, so they can do the price drop. But I don't know. I think I prefer the look of the second-generation Xbox. Much like the pre-PS3, I prefer the second-gen look the best.
Yeah.
The third-gen PS3 didn't
I agree.
inspire me too much. And I see that they're sticking with a 4 gig model. There's still a model at $189 that only comes with 4 gig of flash storage. I guess that works for some people.
What does that cost them? Like 30 cents?
Seriously, they
I know people throw out 4 gigs of memory sticks.
All right. Well, there was obviously more Microsoft Xbox news, but maybe
we have to move on.
We got to talk about some Sony news now, right?
Yes.
So they kicked off with some Vita and PS3 news, but we were focused on the PS4, I think. They showed a lot of the same stuff that we had seen previously.
Yes.
But they finally showed the console itself. They finally unveiled the design of the PS4, which they were keeping a mystery up until now.
Which was, surprise, it's an Xbox One.
Or a lot like one, right? It's a little more angular.
I think, yeah.
It looks a little more stealthy in case you don't want it to be noticed.
Depending on the angle you look at it, I guess.
Yeah. If you look at it from the side, it's kind of like a parallelogram. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, right? That's true.
Yeah, well, that's the impression I got. But they did, they addressed a lot of the Microsoft criticisms head on. They kind of came right out towards the end of the presentation, and they said, listen, we don't require an internet connection. We don't have restrictions on used games. You can, upgrade our hard drive. You can, it's region free again, like the PS3 was.
Sure, yeah. That's excellent.
You can give games to your friends, and that's that. There's nothing more needs to be done. So they were very, aggressive in playing up those differences.
Yeah, it was smart. That was the smartest thing they could do.
The other impressive thing was that they really had a lot of indie games to show off.
Yeah, with this new open developer connection thing they have. It's supposed to be pretty easy for people to just port over their PC indie games. So I think right from the start, you're going to have a ton of quality downloads.
Yeah. So
that was nice.
There's a lot of established games that are already on PC or Mac that are, apparently Sony's making it very easy for them to come right over and publish on a console. So they're going to be console exclusives, at least in that regard. And they also showed off a price for the system, right? We're told it's $399.
That's a steal.
Cheaper than Xbox One.
Yeah, $399 is really cheap.
Although, obviously, if you want to get the PlayStation camera as well, to have similar, you're starting to add to the cost. Obviously, PS Plus is going to add to the cost as well. Yes. These are all things that are going to boost the cost of the system. But base price, you can get in at $399. That seems like a pretty good deal, right? I mean, it's still a lot of money. $400 to drop on a game system, but it's not unprecedented or unreasonable considering what the PS3 started.
If you were saving from when you bought your last console, assuming that you bought it somewhat when the last one came out, so you put aside like $100 a year,
right? That's like your little fund,
I don't know.
Your investment fund.
It is a lot of money.
So you're saying I should start up for PS5 now? I should start banking money for that. All right.
Put your pocket change aside.
We'll see how long that takes. Maybe that'll be 10 years down the road. Who knows?
If they're in business, who knows?
That's true. Now, something that did strike me odd, though, is that PlayStation Plus, they said it's going to be the same deal, same game library. You still get the instant game library that you get when you sign up, but now you're going to have to pay for online play, which is what you didn't.
That was the one thing people always hated about Microsoft.
Well, they always mention that as a benefit of having a PlayStation. Hey, I can play online for free. I don't have to pay $50, $60 a year. But I guess that's changing. So
yeah, definitely.
They're getting a little similar.
The party's over. Well, I mean, it does cost them money, so I guess hopefully they use that money they make from it to have better security.
Yeah, and hopefully, no more downtime. The other thing that caught me off guard a little bit was when we had the president of Sony Entertainment come out and say that they're going to have exclusive original programming for PlayStation owners, that are specifically for gamers. I mean, what is that? I don't know. I guess it's just game-themed TV shows, and
I didn't.
I wasn't really sure where they were going with that.
I don't even think they know.
Yeah, just putting it out there as like a teaser.
Yeah, to me, it felt like that was their answer to the Xbox Halo TV show.
Right.
I don't know.
Let's see. Also, I think they mentioned something about they didn't really mention too much about the streaming service. They just sort of repeated what we heard previously. They just said it's coming next year. It's not going to be ready at launch.
Right. Yeah.
But the one slide that sort of caught my attention was, it's been around a while. It sort of shows someone sitting back on a couch, and I saw tablets and phones suggested in the cloud service. Now, maybe that just means Sony tablets and phones. Maybe you'll be able to get some PlayStation games on that.
Oh, yeah.
But I presume that's what it is.
From what I read, I don't know what game is for what console, but there is one game that already is going to be using the iPad as a second screen to the game. I don't know if it was on PlayStation or Xbox or both. So that was kind of what I read this morning about.
Oh yeah, I think one of the Xbox titles uses Smart Glass.
Yeah, so you're actually
it's a Smart Glass tie-in.
Okay, so there you go.
Definitely. Sony could do something similar to that if they wanted to.
Even the Vita, why not?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's never my personal thing. I don't really. I just want to use my controller and play. That's what I want to do.
But one thing that was kind of surprising, I was surprised to see Final Fantasy X and X-2 coming out for Vita. I was really, didn't expect to see those titles come back. But that's pretty cool. At least portable versions of those games will probably be a big hit.
That should sell a few consoles. Sure.
Yeah. And another surprise for me was the Mad Max game. I didn't know that was coming.
Yeah, no, we were joking around about that one.
Right, we saw that and we're like, hey, that looks like that could be a Mad Max game.
Yeah, and I'm like, Mad Max, no one's going to remember that. That was 30 years ago.
And sure enough, that's what it was.
Yeah, wow.
I had no clue. But let's see. I mean, that's just a splinter of all the news that came out from Sony.
Sure.
But those were the big hits, right? Now, Nintendo did not do a presentation at E3 as they have they've done in past years, but they did do a Nintendo Direct to give us an update on things.
They did, yes.
So, what do you think about Nintendo's offerings? There were a few things that I thought looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a Wii U yet, so this was the big moment to really catch me and reel me in. Right. And some of the games looked real good. Wonderful. The
Wonderful 101.
101, yeah. I don't know if it was Wonderful or Wonderful.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it's about, but it looked good. That game X looked really good. New Super Mario 3D World looked great.
Yeah, that Super Mario 3D World is kind of a sequel to the Super Mario 3D Land that came out on the 3DS. That's what that sort of a lineage there. I think we saw a new power up in there that you can become Cat Mario.
Cat Mario, that looks so cute. But I like how they borrowed a lot of the special abilities of all four characters from Super Mario Brothers 2.
Right, so you can play as different characters and each one plays a little differently.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
it looks like a fun game.
So yeah, you mentioned Wonderful 101. That's from Platinum Games. That's kind of like a team superhero game that you fight alien invaders with. And you use the tablet to draw different attacks and stuff. So that looks good. And they also had Bayonetta 2 to show. And both games have stylish art direction, which I really appreciate.
They do.
Although it seems like there were just as many comments about Bayonetta's new hairstyle as there were about that game itself. So they certainly, the style and the sort of the atmosphere that the game creates, it's very stylish and outlandish and over-the-top attacks.
I think that was always an underground hit, that game.
Right. So those were kind of the big hits for me. I thought they at least... I mean, for one thing, I was really surprised on how good Mario Kart 8 looked.
It surprisingly looks really good. I am not a fan of the Mario Kart series.
Yeah, I thought I was done.
And at first I was like, oh, Mario Kart again. And then I'm like, wait a minute, it looks kind of like F-Zero-ish and anti-gravity. This could be actually...
the weird environment.
Something I want to try.
Hover cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looked like a lot of fun. Now, things that I thought I might have seen here was at least like a price drop for the Wii U. It's looking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still at $350 for the deluxe system. That's their official price, even though some have offered it for less. That's mighty close to the $399 that the PS4 is going to be asking for.
They really need to drop the price on that. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
To stay competitive. It's just here's my issue with the Wii, and it's almost like the thing that I liked about it, I think, is also their big weakness, is the games they showed during the demo were still the same games we always see.
Right.
You know, add in, you know, your Batmans, your Bayonetta, but they still weren't like, you know, it was still another Mario Party, another Mario Worlds, you know, the same thing. So I'm a little disappointed in that respect. Another Smash Brothers. I mean, they're huge games.
Yeah, this is what people want.
Yeah, this is what people want.
Pokemon.
But just from my personal standpoint, I was kind of hoping for like something new, something big. We didn't get it. Another downside is a lot of these games are coming out next year.
Right. They're slated for 2014.
They needed to be out for the holiday season. This is it for Wii U. They really need to set themselves apart and say we're better than PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I think the games that seem to be coming first. I think the Mario game will be out in September, December. And
yeah, I mean, you can't release a game in December. You might as well not even. I mean, that's
you feel if they don't,
it's going to be impossible
for Black
to
Friday.
get. Yeah, and how many times have they said they're going to release it and it gets delayed?
Right.
You know, so you're looking at spring probably on that game.
Yeah. Well, so definitely some more support would have been good. Some more third party. I was hoping to see more from them. I mean,
no third party.
Ubisoft seems to be still putting out games for them, and they've got Sega on board.
Yeah.
To some degree, and Warner Brothers, I think, also is kicking in a few games.
Yeah, I mean, if you're buying a Wii U, it's pretty much for your franchises that you like. That's kind of the only reason.
Now, I noticed that Smash Brothers is being developed by Namco Bandai, actually. They're doing the development on that.
Oh, okay.
You know, the big splash on that was that Mega Man's going to be part of the game.
Yes.
Now, is that a big deal for you? Is that gonna entice you to want to play Smash Brothers?
All right, yeah, because I'm a crazy big Mega Man fan. And I have to admit the CGI stuff they were showing at the end of Mega Man, it got me really excited just because I like Mega Man and it looked really cool.
Right.
However, I don't know. Like, I would like to check out the game because I want to know what it looks like with Mega Man in it. But I don't think it's enough to sway me to buy the game. I would have rather have seen a new Mega Man game. You know, in the style of with Sonic, what they're doing with Sonic.
Right.
Because I think Sonic looks great. I'm actually looking forward to. But hopefully it's a good start. I don't know. Maybe we'll see a Mega Man game. But
what if Pac-Man was in there?
That would be another story. I think there was a Pac-Man fighting game at one point. But yeah, no, that is okay. So now, if you're taking Smash Brothers and you're adding in like more than like a couple of Capcom characters or like that's a different story.
Okay, all right.
I might have to pick that up. Yeah.
All right. Well, we've been rambling on for a bit.
Yeah.
So if there's nothing else, I guess that's going to be it for now.
Let me see. Did I leave anything out of anything I want to get off my chest? No, there's one thing. And one thing that I noticed was the amount of violence and gore through these presentations on these games.
On some of them, yeah.
Now, I don't have a problem with gore and games and violence. I play them, you know. I actually like that. I like shooting people in the head and ripping off limbs and stuff. But to me, it was on TV, and it was not family. Like, kids are going to be watching this stuff.
Right.
Because this stuff you can just go online and watch.
Right.
And I mean, especially like the Reese game. And that was really like way over the top violence. To me, it wasn't appropriate for kids.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Not for something in a public showing like that.
I noticed it during even some of the demos, some of the sit-down demos they were showing on Spike TV. You know, they were just very casually, you know, there's like bodies hanging from meat hooks and stuff. And it's like, you know, they're very
like squirting out.
They're very casually just sort of discussing all the, you know, awesome features of the game. But I'm like, all right, well, you know, it is a mature rated game, I'm sure, but you know, just to be like on TV like that, acceptable for
yeah, that's, I don't know, that was a big thumbs down.
All right, well, that's all I had for today.
Yeah, that's it. All right, so thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this. And don't forget to share and like and tell your friends. Any last departing words?
That sounds all good. Everything you said is perfect.
All right, so we'll be back again soon. All right, bye.
Bye-bye.